Hey everybody, and welcome to a new video on E.Stampley art. I apologize for being absent for a while. Spring is usually very busy for me on many different fronts, so I'm going to try to do my best to get some content out there for you guys. For today's video, we're going to be doing a SketchBox unboxing as well as creating some artwork from the stuff inside this May 2022 box. Why don't we get started, shall we? All right, let's see what we've got going on here. So they are calling this a gouache basic box set. So yeah, definitely have some gouache paints here and some paper. That's great. We have a Copic multiliner in Cobalt 0.3. Very nice. Also, of course, your standard little SketchBox sticker in the shape of a little gouache tube. Very adorable. Love that. And then this very odd paintbrush, which they are calling a TriWedge, which makes sense because if you look at it, it's very triangle shaped. So very different. Never seen anything like that before, so that should be fun to play with. And then we also have, which very odd, this is a little tiny circular, I guess, paint block. Here on the side, there we go. Ooh, okay. Oh yeah, you can kind of see, you can see the texture. It is a textured cotton paper, 140 pound, 10 sheets on here, saying it's good for watercolor, gouache, and acrylic. And then we have our gouache paints here. So we've got a Caran white, a yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and cobalt blue in Savoir. Faire. Okay, so we're going to take all these supplies and try to create something on this wonderful paper texture. So let's see what we can do, shall we? So as you can see off to the left is where I did some swatches of the colors, so I can kind of see how they look just straight out of the tube, and then also with diluted with water, you know, using the watercolor technique that you can do with gouache. And I did some preliminary sketches and kind of settled on this koi fish yin yang type design that I gravitated toward. I just sketched that out on the surface, and then kind of went back in with my pencil and did like some more details, and used the kneaded eraser to kind of lift up as much of the lead as possible before I started going in with the gouache. I started off with the blue. I wasn't sure where to start. I was like, well, I know I want to color around the fish blue, so let's start that, and it kind of would help me define a little bit of the outline of where the fishes are. So I started with that. I apologize if I've moved the surface a little off of the screen. I was kind of unaware of where my camera was at the time. So apologize if it accidentally, in some cases, moves a little bit off the screen where you can't see. And then I start going in, and I figured I'd use kind of the yellow ochre to color one of the fish, and more of the burnt sienna mixed with the yellow ochre to color the other fish to make him a little darker. And then just kind of use a mixture of both to give the kind of like spots and the coloring and stuff that go on the two different fish. I did all of this painting probably over a few days just to give it time to dry and, you know, to come back in and freshen it up. So it wasn't all done in one day. That's the one thing I know I need to learn about watercolor, is just taking time to let parts of it dry, then come back to it. And I think that was very helpful for me for this part. I mean, even if you just leave for an hour and come back to it, it makes a difference of how you can kind of layer your different colors on top of one another. And I am slowly but surely learning that rule of doing like a watercolor technique. And then, yeah, I just kind of mixed some of the colors together to get that dark color of the eyes of the fish. The one thing I'm noticing with this paintbrush, I like using it. The only problem I have noted to have the very tip of the brush, it's very, very fine, and it tends to want to kind of do its own thing instead of what you actually want it to do. And that could be on me, and you know, just learning more about brush techniques and how to use paintbrushes more properly. So I don't want to completely put it on the brush, but I know sometimes I would try to go in as light as possible, especially like around the eyes, for example, and then the tip of the paintbrush would just want to go outside of where I was trying to put it and put paint where I did not want it. That's just the only thing I noticed. But like I said, that could be on me, maybe not the brush. So I'm doing some final touch-ups here with a little bit of the white gouache that came in the box. Just adding some highlights to the eyes and just kind of whitening up some of the areas that I wanted to be lighter, and giving some white spots also to the fish. Then I'm kind of going around the fish, outlining them with the blue Copic Multiliner. Later on I go over the lines again just to kind of thicken them up and then give a little bit of depth in some spaces. Really like the Cobalt multiliners from Copic. I think they have some purple ones too. I don't have any of those. I have a couple of the burnt Siennas and obviously a full set of the black. And there we go, our finished product. I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I thought they turned out really well. The paints went on this paper really, really nicely. I liked these paints, they were really great. They watered down really well. You can get a good variety of color out of each one of them. And the texture on this paper is really good, and it took water, you know, expertly. So yeah, I'll have to find other things to do with this very interesting shape of paper. Obviously the Copic Multiliner worked really well, especially giving the wonderful outlines and stuff on the fish. Gave you a little bit of control because it's a 0.3, so I used it and kind of went over it again to get that thickness of line. Like I said, my only slight complaint in it, like I said, it's just probably user error, would be this brush and how the tip would kind of just want to do its own thing. But other than that, I really loved this box and thought for the little bit that you actually got, it actually gave you a lot of stuff that you could work with, especially the color palette that they gave you to mix together really well. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a nice thumbs up down below. And if you want to know about new videos when they are coming out on the channel, feel free to hit the notification bell or the red subscribe button, which is somewhere down here. And also, if you wanted to follow more of my artistic journey, you can do so on Instagram or Twitter at E.Stampley Art. As always, I'd love to thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye!